Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes, brought to you by the team here at Vidyard. My name is Tyler Lessard. I'm VP Marketing and Chief Video Strategist, and I am excited, as always, to bring you today's episode, which is going to be all about the topic of video in the sales process. Now, video for sales is new for a lot of businesses. So today here on Behind the Scenes, we're going to get to go, behind the scenes of an enterprise business that has rolled out video across dozens, if not hundreds of different sales reps to help them crack into new accounts, to build better relationships with their clients, to help them create these connections in a digital first world. And many of these sellers have folks who have been in the field traditionally prior to the pandemic, who are now adapting to this virtual first world. So I'm super excited to have this conversation to learn how this sales team is actually using video, but also how they've been successful in rolling it out to their sales team to maximize adoption and maximize the value of using personalized video messages, screen share videos, and beyond. So to do that today here, folks, I am going to welcome on our guest for this episode, the one and only Brooke Zobolotski from Desire to Learn, somebody who I've known actually for a number of years, who's helping to roll out video at D2L. Brooke, why don't you come on and join me?
Hey there, how are you?
There she is. I am great, thanks. How are you on this fine, beautiful, sunny day here in Southern Ontario?
I cannot complain. Couldn't be happier with the weather.
It's great to have you there, have you here. For everybody else out there, Brooke and I live in the same general area here, just outside of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and it is a beautiful, sunny, feeling like spring day. So it is a great time to be thinking about what's ahead in this world of sales. So Brooke, I would love to just start things off. Maybe you could introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about D2L.
Absolutely. Yes. So thanks so much. D2L. So we are a global learning management system. We have been around for just over 20 years now. We work with different segments, so from education, but also over into the corporate space. And really, ultimately, our main focus is to transform the way the world learns. So that's a bit about D2L. My role at D2L, I've been there just over a year or so now. I am a sales enablement manager that supports our full international sales team as well as our North America corporate segment. So that's a bit about me.
Amazing. How many folks are you supporting in the sales team as you look at that global organization?
Yeah, so myself specifically, I would say I have about 95 from BDRs to solutions engineers to account executives. And then my counterpart is sitting about at the same. Got it.
Great. And you talked about a little bit about the structure of the team. I would love to just hear a little bit more about that, how the sales team operates, how you've sort of structured those different roles and what their responsibilities are.
Absolutely. I think you kind of touched a bit on that. So at D2L, what I like to coin is our sales team has always been a bit of the road warrior. So very much focused on that face-to-face. We have our education side of the house where their sales cycles and sales processes can span upwards of 3 years through the full, larger institution, the RFP process. So it's a very integral part where they continuously keep in contact and building those relationships over the course of many years. But then we have our other teams. So let's say in the corporate segment where we may look at it being really only a 3-month sales cycle, a bit more of a transactional as well as strategic. So we have a wide array of different individuals that contribute to that. We have our BDRs who are an integral part to our prospecting, our AEs, again, who support the full sales cycle, or solutions engineers who are in regular conversations with the account executives and the prospects and customers. Yeah. And we also have our client sales executives. So they work with our existing customers and trying to see how they can further adopt D2L as well as where we can potentially grow the accounts.
Amazing. Now, folks, anybody listening online, please feel free to drop in a comment. Let us know if you have any questions for Brooke as we go, and we'll try to make sure that we get those answered as well. And let me know what you think if you were to have a 3-year sales cycle in some case, because that just scares the heck out of me, Brooke. I can only imagine how important relationships are in a lot of these sales cycles. So we're definitely going to talk about the role of video as it pertains to that. But maybe we'll kick things off by just getting a little bit of perspective from your side as you started to look at rolling out video to the sales team, and specifically Vidyard for recorded video messages, screen shares, and so on. Can you tell us a bit about how that got started? What was the motivation to start to look at video, and what problems were you really trying to solve with the team?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very familiar with Vidyard. So when I came into D2L, doing my exploratory better understanding of the sales team, I definitely saw a gap in how we were reaching out. I knew that there was such a powerful way for us to leverage video through building those connections, those relationships, being respectful of our prospects and customers' time. And so over the course of about, I want to say 13 months almost, I started to build this business case with all of our sales leaders as well as our senior leadership team to help them understand truly what the value was in bringing video into the sales cycle. Ultimately, again, like I said, it's building pipeline, it's closing deals, increasing the commitment and relationship that we have with our prospects, which is such a huge part of D2L, is that partnership and leveraging video to do all of those things. Yeah.
Well, it's exciting to hear that you actually went out and worked with the teams to build up those ideas in those cases. I know a great way for a technology rollout to fail is to just go and get something and push it on everybody and say, here you go, we want you to get this. So that's a good takeaway number one, is to make them a part of the process. I'm curious, as you were working with different teams, maybe we could go through a couple of examples of what the experience has been with them adopting video and how they're leveraging it in their processes. I assume it's a little bit different for the BDRs versus perhaps commercial account executives versus those in the education space. Maybe we can tackle a couple of those and maybe start with the BDR team.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with the rollout, we definitely started to highlight the value of leveraging video throughout prospecting. So every single first outreach that they had to meeting reminders and meeting follow-ups was something that we implemented and really held them accountable. We had weekly syncs with the BDRs to make sure that they had an understanding of the best practices. They could talk about what was working, what wasn't. And a huge part of getting them up and running was a Slack channel where It was just sharing, your if we received insights or you had a really great video or you weren't hearing back. So that's how we got them up and running. And a really incredible thing that we didn't actually anticipate happening was we were getting a huge amount of intel into our prospects that we weren't getting before. So what was happening was we would send an email, a phone call. It would say, we're happy with our current LMS, thanks, but no thanks, or we wouldn't get a response at all. Right. But not only were we getting responses, we actually were getting a huge amount of intel on this prospect. So where they were with their LMS, which LMS they were with, when their contract was coming up, because they saw that we took the time to create this personalized video, they were so much more willing to actually engage and interact with us. So that's from the BDR lens. Our solutions engineers are really loving it from a micro demo standpoint. So we talk about Zoom fatigue. There's inbox, email inbox fatigue as well. And so one thing that we've been telling our solutions engineers is if you run out of time or there was a question that was unable to be answered, is send a video rather than trying to find another 35, 45 minutes to walk through the pieces that you weren't able to touch on. Send the video instead. We're seeing a lot also of our RFP processes where they're asking us to submit videos. Right. And that's coming more and more frequently, and being able to understand who's actually looking at what is really allowing us to tailor and gear our conversations in that direction, which is so much more relevant.
That's amazing. I love these different use cases, and it's something that we're starting to see more frequently with businesses, is thinking about these opportunities with these custom recorded videos, in many cases short, but in other cases, to your point, if there's a 10, 15, 20-minute demo that you need to be able to deliver, to record that and share it so they can watch it on their own time, they can pass it around. That can become a really impactful part of the process, and actually can shorten the deal cycle, because you're no longer now waiting for that time to get on everybody's calendar. And then, when that meeting gets bumped or canceled because they can't make it, another 2 weeks happen. And I think it's a really interesting shift in how salespeople can think about, empowering their buyers. Let me dive into the BDR use case a little bit more. I'm super interested there of, how the team is using the tool. Now, you mentioned even just that point of they're taking the time to record a personal video, send it to a prospect, and they're more likely to at least engage and respond, even if they're not interested, which is amazing. I'm curious what types or styles of videos you're seeing the team use. Are they doing quick webcam videos where they're doing their usual pitch? Are they doing anything more creative with screen shares, or anything else that they've found that has worked for them as part of their outbound prospecting?
Yeah, for sure. So I think what we've done is we've tried to accommodate those who are a little bit more hesitant to get on camera. So we have some of our BDRs who are definitely really loving the whiteboard. I think, the whole fact that being able to put the person's name, or if there's a meeting reminder, is actually putting the date and time of the meeting on the whiteboard, is something that's really resonating really well. Based off of the fact of, it being personalized, it's definitely intriguing people to actually click play because they see their name. For those sales rep or BDRs, who maybe are a little bit more hesitant, we've been doing the screen share where we're saying pull up the company's website or their strategic plan. If you want to highlight where there's alignment between D2L and that institution's strategic plan, their LinkedIn profile. So if you've seen them move jobs, or they've posted a white paper or something to that sort, just pull that up and actually leverage that. So we're seeing a multitude and a mix, but we are seeing a lot of success with that whiteboard selfie video for sure.
I love it, Brooke. I love it. As you've rolled it out into, we'll stay with the BDR team for now. As you've rolled it out to that team, are there things that you've learned, maybe some things that you wish you had thought of or knew when you started the process, in terms of getting the team get comfortable on camera, getting them to adopt the tool, and getting them to be efficient with it? Because that's also a challenge a lot of people face, is, they feel like recording videos, 20 times to get it right, and it becomes an inefficient process. Curious if you've learned anything in empowering the team and helping them be successful with video.
Yeah, I think that one is always having an advocate. So whether it's the BDRs and AE, but having a champion within that team who actually can say, this is how I'm leveraging it within my role and where I'm seeing success and value. I can say it till I'm blue and black in the face, but actually having one of their specific peers who's doing that job day in and day out makes a world of a difference. So that was a huge, learning piece for me. The other was not doing mass rollout, mass enablement.
Right.
Was doing what I was calling mini roadshows, where it was with a specific region or a specific segment, focusing there and having it more of a smaller group. Yes, it was much more time consuming. I think I had about 8 hours in one day of just Vidyard training and enablement. But the best part about that was that people were more willing to be engaged because it was a smaller group. So that was a huge success across not just BDRs, but the full sales team as well. Yeah.
As part of that and across the team, I'm curious if you saw almost sort of reciprocal brainstorming or ideas from within the teams. Were you seeing any sellers that were kind of coming back with new ideas, or did you do anything collaborative with them to come up with thoughts about, hey, how might we use video at different stages throughout the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like I'm saying absolutely a lot. So I'm definitely in agreement to everything you're saying. What actually was happening was we did weekly syncs. So that was very informal. There was no agenda where it was come forward with a video that you want us to critique or a video that worked really well. Or we would have certain reps or BDRs say, this isn't working. Do you have any thoughts? I'm not able to break through. So it was really just opening the lines of communication outside of any other forum. It was Vidyard specific. The other was the Slack channel. It was great because it was getting people really excited. So what we were saying is if you got a meeting booked by leveraging video and Vidyard, put that in the Slack channel and let your peers learn from you. And so that really would get people pumped and really excited when they'd start to see, the fact that somebody sent a video and got a meeting booked, because ultimately that's what BDRs are focused in on, right? Is getting meeting books for their AEs. So that definitely helped with that piece of it.
That's great. That's I think it's so important. And back to that idea of making them a part of the process. Sharing wins. I think having a dedicated Slack channel that people can do that as well. I've seen other organizations that have shared documents where they're getting people to just like, when you've made something that you think is great and you want to share it, just drop it in there and you end up with this almost central repository of examples and templates and things just to inspire others, because this is very new for all of us and there's a lot of different use cases that we can have. I actually wanted to ask you as well about your solutions engineering or solutions consulting team, the folks that are supporting the sales reps from more of a technology perspective. Is that team starting to use video at all to help create custom demos or things like that?
Yes, they definitely are. So they were a part of our full enablement and rollout plan of Vidyard. The nice thing is that when we were in the pilot phase, we did have an SE who had leveraged it and saw some really great success where, especially on the higher ed side of the house, we could have huge evaluation committees, right? Where it's faculty and or admin. And so you don't necessarily always have a good understanding as to where we're falling in kind of the grand scheme of things. And so the nice thing is being able to leverage video and show, certain features that we think that they might be interested in. And we potentially start to see higher interest in that specific video. So we know, okay, this is something that's really resonating well. And so that is definitely where we're starting to kind of pick that up. And micro demos is huge right now, is that, we're like everybody else, our calendars are double, triple booked. And so they're really finding it efficient and effective to be able to send a follow-up video on a demo on a question that maybe they weren't able to answer. Or like I said earlier, is focusing in on those last key items that maybe they weren't able to get to during the demo. So we're definitely seeing it being a really effective tool for that.
That's one of my favorite things in what I'm seeing with particularly technology companies who need to be able to do some show and tell. I'd love to just double click on the micro demo idea. And for those of the folks listening out there, would you mind just explaining a little bit more about what you mean by micro demos and then how it is that you're empowering the sales team to make use of those?
Yeah. So micro demos is really, a 2 to 7 minute, depending on what you're showing, highlighting a specific feature within our platform. So with a demo, you're going to go in, you're going to take an hour and you're going to walk through all these different components of your platform. And rather than doing that, it's knowing they're interested in X, Y, and Z features. We're just going to send them 3 quick, short videos that are going to walk them through that specific feature. And how we're actually leveraging it, not just from an SE standpoint, but is also putting it in shared folders so that the sales reps can leverage. Right. So how we've trained the sales reps is don't just go ahead and send that micro demo, which is generic and what have you, which is fantastic, right? Like that's how we can scale for sure. But create a quick personalized video explaining what they're going to see coming up. So it was so great to talk to you, Tyler. I understand that you were really interested in A, B, and C. At the end of this, you'll see a few videos pop up. Feel free to ask any questions if you have anything you want to discuss further, etc. So that's really what we're trying to get our sales reps to do is, you can use these marketing or solutions engineer driven videos, but still personalize it at that front end.
Yeah, it's such a great use case because right from, whether they're using Outlook or Gmail or whatever it is for sending that over, it's that one click and then you can, go to that folder of micro demos, record your intros, select those other ones and create that custom playlist in a way that, frankly, we've never been able to do that before with video, of sort of dynamically assemble things into a custom list and send it over. But the tools make that really easy now. So what's really interesting from my perspective is that now having these tools the way that they are, it's actually in some cases changing the way we think about what content we create. Because this idea of making these micro demos didn't really make sense in the past, where you couldn't easily piece them together or share them. But now that that's a way that we can sell, I think it's actually driving this idea of creating more video content intentionally for the sales team to help them, through these cycles in different ways. So it's really really interesting. Have you had any stories of converts? I'm really curious if there's anybody in your sales team, don't name names, please, but folks who, came in who you didn't think would really embrace video, or came in as a bit of a naysayer or hesitant, who has come around and has become a real video user or champion.
Yeah, I have a few actually, and they were very surprising. So wasn't surprised that they were going to be a naysayer or really kind of against it. But once, a little bit of persistence and really showing them how easy and valuable the tool was, and showing also the success and comments that our other reps were getting, they tried it out and actually sent a video out to say like, wow, this was actually really easy. I, completely see the value and really getting behind it. So definitely have had a few. I think it's that change management, right? People I've been, supporting sales and sales enablement for over 10 and a half years now. And change management is always the hardest piece. And just trying to help them understand that this is going to benefit you. You're going to see results. You just have to get behind it and just try. So yeah, that was kind of it was fun to watch. Definitely just doing that full 180 was fantastic.
Yeah, those are my favorite moments. And I also love when you see those moments of folks who, you just think for some reason you've got your bias with respect to, they're not going to really embrace it. Maybe they're the folks who aren't usually the tech savvy people who are using tools, or maybe they've been field sellers for decades and you think this is such a change for them that they're just not going to get there. And sometimes those are the people that are actually the most impactful on video, I find, because they come from a world where they're so used to being in person, to relationship building, that I think in some cases they actually find it almost liberating and refreshing to be able to go, oh, finally, I can just talk like a human again instead of having to type out emails and grammar check. And those are my favorites, when you have those folks that are like, oh, wow, great. This is actually easier than sending emails again. I'm all in.
Yes.
So we got just a couple minutes left. I wanted to talk about the data side of things, and I'm not sure how far your team has gotten, but I'm just curious about how you're thinking about using the data on the back end, as part of a few different things you could be doing with respect to just better understanding your customers, but also understanding how your reps are embracing the tool, finding its impact or its wins. Maybe just talk a little bit about that of maybe what you're doing today and then where you hope to get to with the data on the back end.
Yeah, so from a data standpoint, we're really encouraging our sales reps. So when they're getting those automatic email notifications saying, X, Y, and Z, John Smith watch, 80%, we're saying pick up the phone or right away, because the thing is, and this is what I was saying earlier, was we have Zoom fatigue, but we have email inbox fatigue. And so they watch the video and they're like, oh, that was really great, I should follow up with them. And then they, get a quick meeting invite and a Slack comes through, and then Amazon guy comes to the door. Yeah. And now all of a sudden you've moved down the priority list. So that's where we're really saying to them, this is an opportunity for you, not to say, I got the analytics that said you watched this video, but,
right.
I sent you this video earlier today, wondering if you had any questions, would love to chat further. And most times they're saying to us, funny enough, I actually just watched your video. And yes, because we're still top of mind.
Yeah.
That's how we're doing it from a sales rep standpoint.
Awesome.
I think that from a sales enablement, sales ops, we're also looking at obviously the influence that video is having to our deals, looking at our pipeline where we're seeing video has actually influenced that meetings booked. So we're really working right now on identifying all those different pieces that are going to truly prove out the ROI, which the pilot we blew it out of the water with the pilot. So I know we're only going to have more great things to come over the course of the next several years. That's
great. And I think it's a pretty consistent experience I hear from a lot of businesses is, starting with some of the anecdotal, seeing successes from different reps, empowering the reps to use the data themselves to know who's watching my videos and when. And then, building out that model to make sure long-term we can start to track and identify how are videos impacting pipeline, how are they impacting sales, looking at drawing some correlations between reps who are using video more than others, and are they seeing an increase? So lots of opportunity there with the data, which is super interesting. So it'll be neat to see, and I look forward to following your journey there of how it plays out over the next 6, 12 and months and beyond. So we're going to wrap up here, but I want to before we go, I want to ask you, from your experience in now rolling out video across a large sales team, seeing some wins, I'm sure seeing some failures, what are one or two of your biggest lessons learned for other folks out there that are looking at doing this with their own sales teams? What would you recommend that they think about to make sure that they're successful?
Yeah, having a champion. I think that not just a champion who's going to get the deal across the finish line and get, Vidyard into their company, but having somebody who can go then and really support the team ongoing, because I don't think that the training and enablement is a one and done. It's something that in order to truly see success and see success in adoption, but also ultimately in closing more deals and building more pipeline, is having, a regular cadence of touch points and discussions and keeping it top of mind. That's I think the hugest, most massive piece of it for me. I think the other is also having support and buy-in. I know that if I didn't have that and I just tried to roll this out, it would be a lot harder. It was something that I've been talking about, like I said, for 13 months with all of the sales leaders. And so they understood the value and the benefit and have really helped support me in getting the teams adopting. And the last one, I'm going to give you 3, is what I say to the sales reps, who are like, it's going to take too much time, is we say, you got to just, like anything, practice, keep doing it. And that doesn't mean do multiple of the same videos and retakes. We tell them do 2 and find the best one and send it. But more so saying, make a designated time in the morning where you can pump out some videos. So the more you do, the more willing you are to actually continue to leverage.
Such a great tip. We even find people that are getting their reps to just use it internally as well. Record a video to share a message to a team member, to highlight a win, to update your manager, because every video you make, even for internal use, helps you get better and more comfortable. So I made some notes here of some of your big takeaways. In summary, for our listeners out there, have a champion or champions that can help you drive usage across the team, can prove it down as part of your pilot group and support the other users. Change management, you talked about a number of times, Brooke, which I think is so important when rolling out any technology. Video is also a behavioral change for a lot of people, so be smart about how it is you work with your team to manage that change. Having buy-in, top down and bottom up, within the teams, and making them a collaborative part of the rollout process. I love what you talked about there. And then, as you said, I had to add on the final little bullet point here: practice for all the reps out there, and encourage them that it's as I like to say, it's about connection, not perfection. And it's okay to not be perfect in these videos. And I think even just supporting them in that idea is so really important. So thank you so much for all those amazing takeaways. So stoked to hear the success to date, your strategy in rolling this out. And I'm sure it is going to pay off big time in the next year and years ahead as the team evolves. So thank you so much for sharing your story and helping us get behind the scenes of your video rollout at D2L, Brooke. So thank you so much for joining us here on Behind the Scenes.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.